Hey, welcome to another episode of Local Marketing Beat, brought to you by Uberall, the only location marketing platform that connects your digital presence to revenue. Today's guest is Ana Martinez, Chief Technology Officer at Uberall, where she's leading the charge in redefining how multi-location brands connect with customers in the age of AI and local search. With a passion for innovation and deep technical background, I'm very excited because she's actually helping shape the future of discovery, visibility, and trust through building cutting-edge technology. So Ana, welcome to the show. We're very excited to have you.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Yes. So why don't we start with, tell us a little bit about what is your role, right? What does a CTO at Uberall do? And what gets you excited right now with all these craziness in AI innovation, tech, and honestly, how fast it's changing, right?
Yeah. So I'm CTO at Uberall, been with the company for around 3 years, and I lead what is called the R&D team. So that is product design and engineering. And we have an amazing team who's working on our roadmap, dating and out. So my main focus is on technology, strategy, and innovation. And it's a lot of fun because I spend a lot of my time thinking about AI and AI search and how all the things are happening. And you're right, everything is changing and it's changing super fast. But also our platform is changing super, super fast. I mean, it's been incredible to see the roadmap that we had or the vision that we had a year ago, how it's been transforming the platform into really what we call an AI native platform, where we move from static automation to what we call dynamic orchestration, right? So really making the shift to have Uberall's platform to be autonomous and goal-driven marketing system. So, and every release that we've been doing with our LPO practice, with the LPS score, with Ubi, and everything else that is coming, I think it takes us closer and closer to that goal. But yeah, it's been super exciting. I'm a technologist. I think I was still in college when the internet started, but I feel like this is probably as transformative or more than that. So super, super excited to be part of it and maybe think that I contribute a little bit to that.
Yeah, no, this is awesome. I have so many follow-up questions on all the things that you just mentioned. So we've, in every episode, obviously we've been talking about AI search. I'm very curious to ask you what your take, and if you can give us a little bit more context on agentic AI, right? Because you mentioned Ubi. We're going to get to Ubi and talk a little bit about Uberall's Ubi. But let's start there, right? What is it? How does it work? And really, what is the difference from automation where I don't want to say back in the day, because this was like, not even a year ago, we used to do triggers and this, concept diagrams flows is not that long ago, but this is different, right? How is it different and what's your take on it?
Yeah. So the way to think about agentic AI is systems that really go beyond automation, right? So you can really have these systems reason and plan and act independently if you let them towards certain goals and outcomes, right? So it's really a shift in mindset. So instead of me going and working in the application or even telling an agent, post this update on Tuesday, I'm going to think about how can I grow my local visibility in Austin, right? And then let the agentic system to go and do that, right? The way how I think about AI, and this might sound a little bit controversial, but I almost think about him as a teammate. So it's not a task runner, but a teammate or an intern, right? I think if you have the best intern in the world from the best university that is coming and work in your company, you don't expect that person to be effective on day one. You're still going to be onboarding that person. You still need to give them context. You need to explain how you do things at your company. What are you working on? What is the strategy, right? And I think with agentic AI, it's kind of the same, right? They can understand context. They can make decisions autonomously and act proactively if you let them, but you need to work with them, right? And give them that context and let them understand and grow with you.
That's a very good analogy, because if I think about an intern, there has to be education. There has to be, here's all our systems that get trained, right? The onboarding process. And I can see that applying here to Agentic, right? Where I want you to eventually take over, but in the meantime, you need to learn the way. You need to learn the way of the force.
Exactly, right? And you're going to check on what they're doing, right? You're going to give them feedback, and that intern eventually will get better and better. So this is the same with Agentic.
Yeah. And why do you think that there's such a big opportunity for agentic when we're talking or comparing it to automation, for example, or traditional automation, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, I still think there is a space for traditional automation, right? It's like if I'm right next to a switch and I want to turn on the light, I probably just flip the switch. I'm not going to ask Alexa to turn on the light, right?
Right.
But
You'll be
so you can.
surprised. You'll be surprised.
So it can be used for simple things, right? But I think we can do much better now, right? Especially with the complexity of our world, right? Like think about the consumer journey or the buying consumer journey is not linear anymore, right? And I'm so guilty of that, right? We start by searching something online, and maybe we get a recommendation from an AI engine. And then from then on, maybe we go to a cart and add something, but really don't buy it because maybe there is an offer coming. And then eventually you see one influencer that you like or you follow and they give you a link and then you follow. So it's not linear, right? So the complexity is really high, and that creates data overload as well, right? That makes things a lot more complex. That if you have rules and workflows, you might take care of some of it, but you're not going to take care of every edge case, right?
Right.
And I think because of that also, I think people and consumers are expecting in a certain way more personalization, right? So how can you get to more tailored experiences, right? When you have all these rules. So at scale, it stops working, right? And all this is happening in real time. So by the time that you maybe identified a pattern and you create your rule and you run your program, maybe it's too late. Right. So I think that's where agentic AI can help you to really be a lot more dynamic on how you react to the world.
Right. And like you were saying earlier, right? Like give it a little bit more autonomy that hopefully it can continue to get better and better, where you don't have to be telling this employee, right, what to do and when to do it. It's more like, well, here's the problem. Help me go solve it. Like find the solution and execute, which is mind blowing, right? But it's exciting.
Yeah, very exciting.
So how do we go from agentic into orchestration, right? What is that transition? What's possible there? And, give us a little bit of insight. So maybe what are you working on that end?
Sure. So the way to think about it, kind of said, is it's a change in mindset, right? So it's not about controlling tasks, but it's about directing outcomes, right? So with orchestration and agentic AI, you can get very close to proactive intelligence, right? And operate all these things in certain harmony, right? In a much more dynamic way, right? So I always say, it's not that the AI will replace humans. AI will do the things we honestly don't like to do, right? Will do the heavy lifting and will help the humans stay strategic, right? And you can scale without chaos. So I think that's the main change of what's possible here.
Now, I guess getting back to your intro, right, where we were talking about what's going on at Uberall and how all these applies together. That's what I'm very curious to hear. Ubi's out, has been released by the time of this recording. If you haven't watched the video, it looks awesome. So we'll drop a link into the comments or the description box so you can watch it. But how does all of this apply into Uberall today and Uberall tomorrow, right? Because where we're going, where's the platform going, and how does agentic AI comes in play?
Sure. So yes, so Ubi, it's been fantastic to see how the different releases of Ubi, and there's more coming. But really what we're doing with Ubi, and Ubi is really the storefront, right? Or the conductor in that orchestra, right? It's like Ubi and a swarm of agents and ambient agents in the back, really creating this whole orchestration and creating this agentic platform. So really what we've done is embed agentic intelligence across our core workflows, right? So what Ubi can do is operate across thousands of locations, right? So think about scale with autonomous logic, right? And not just workflow. So, but what we make sure is like the human is always in the loop. So everything that Ubi does and all the agents behind it is 100% auditable, 100% traceable. And the human is always in control, right? So it's almost like we're talking about the intern, but think about the intern is your performance manager, but it's a performance manager for every location, right? It's for every location, working 24/7, real time, doesn't take vacation, it doesn't get sick, right? It's tracking the LPS score across all your locations. It understands LPO practices. It knows what it has to do to increase that score, and it can go and just do it. So I think it's is transformational, right? In a certain way.
Yeah, it's funny because I remember when the Ubi started happening, there was planning, and I think one of my questions was, "Can we get Ubi LPO certified?" And the answer is, "Well, it's part of it, right? It's part of its core." Yeah, shameless plug. Go to the Uberall Academy if you're not LPO certified. But in that conversation, obviously there was a beta, right? And there was a lot of information. Can you think of any cool cases that you saw brands or any of our customers or partners using Uvi? Because I'll be curious. And if you didn't, maybe you have like this is the ideal use case that I love Uvi for. What would that be for our listeners?
Yeah, so we've gotten some fantastic feedback, and I think it's been really interesting to develop Ubi, right? And to see the team developing Ubi, because it's different than building a traditional software, right? Because you're building on top of a system of an LLM that is non-deterministic, right? So product managers are used to writing requirements, right? And saying, well, this is what we expect the thing to do, right? In this case, Ubi. And then engineers take that and they work on that, right? And the QA team tested it, right? So, but here with Ubi, sometimes we're like, well, this version of Ubi is going to do this, right? But then we release it to our clients and we don't know what the user will say, right? It's like the user will interact with Ubi. I mean, we can predict, we cannot know because we watch, we get feedback, but at the end is the user with Ubi interacting. And we've been so surprised. Sometimes we have questions that we weren't expecting that Ubi will be able to answer them and Ubi can answer them, right?
Yeah.
And that's because of the foundation of how we build the Agentic platform, because of the context that Ubi gets, because how it's connected with the rest of the application via MCP. So it's a lot of all these things put together that make Ubi able to do that. So yes, it's been really fun to see the early adopters of Ubi and how they interact with Ubi and with the platform and what it can do.
That is so cool to hear you know, from your perspective, what is it behind it, right? What is the building of it? Obviously, we're talking about some autonomous freedom for Ubi to answer questions. So were there actual technical challenges that you and your team had to put in place? It's like, well, you shouldn't use this information, you should not answer these questions. Like, I'm sure there was, right? Is there anything that comes to mind when we're talking about the technical side?
Yeah, for sure. So we need to make sure to build guardrails, right? And to make sure that we stay on topic, right? And if somebody asks them, what do you think about, I don't know, the latest Mission Impossible movie, that it won't go there, right?
Yeah.
That it stays focused, but really set the guardrails, because we want our users to feel like they're in control and they can trust Ubi and the platform, and they can trust that Ubi stays on brand. So the main thing here, and we invested early on the evaluation systems and the feedback loops for Ubi, so it knows when it goes out of what it's supposed to say, and it can kind of come back and correct. Traceability, as I said, and observability of everything that Ubi does, build up from the beginning. And testing is also very different, right? You start by testing in a control environment, but then you also need to test for behavioral reactions. It's like, is Ubi reasoning correctly, right? It doesn't make sense what it's saying, right? So, and I think the most fun that the team has is trying to break it, right? It's like, okay, can we make Ubi say or do the wrong thing, right?
Right.
And see what happens. So yes, it's definitely a shift in paradigm in terms of how you build software. And it's been a learning curve for us as well, right? But I think that continuous monitoring in production, that ongoing eval system and all that put together help us overcome those challenges, right, and get it better over time.
Yeah, and as it gets better over time, it gets trained on your brand, right, to stay within brand and learn more about your locations. What do you think should be kind of results expected by implementing this type of agentic AI into a brand? Like, what do you think comes to mind? Obviously, in your perspective, but for our audience and listeners, you know, who may be brand managers or CMOs or running multi-locations, what should they start thinking about, and why do you think that is important to adopt something like this?
Yeah. So I think for multi-location brands, I think what they get out of Ubi and our agentic system is consistency at scale. So I think that you will have, or you should expect, less manual work, more speed, more visibility and fewer gaps, and fast execution, right? So you can really have your teams focus on the outcome that they want to achieve, and not so much on the day-to-day details of execution. So
Yep.
I think I think if you do that while following LPO practices, you should really see both an improvement in revenue or growth or whatever your top metric is, but also bottom line, right? Because it helps with efficiency and doing things faster and better.
Right.
So you should see a real impact here.
Now, I love to ask about your theories, right? Where do you see this going in the next 2 to 3 years? Hard to tell because I mean, every week feels like there's something new going on in AI. But if you put on your theory hat, what does that look like? Where do you see us going in 1 year, 2 years, maybe 3 years for both sides, right? The software company, but also maybe consumers.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, whatever I say is probably gonna be wrong, right? Because it's just that everything
Yeah.
moves really fast.
It might change by next week, right? It's like, this is how fast it's changing.
Yeah, but I think you can bet on. I mean, we'll see consumers adopting AI breakneck speed, right? It's like we know that. I think Walmart was saying, I think it was yesterday or today, that they are rolling their Sparky agent or something like that, right? And the CTO at Walmart was saying that they expect that the search boxes will go away, right? Then every consumer will expect having an agent of some sort, interact with the agent to do whatever they want to do, right? So I think that's coming, right? And actually, I think it's here already for multiple cases, and it's just gonna become everywhere. It's gonna be like that. And I think business will follow, right? It's definitely software will follow. It's like we are building an agentic platform. Other software, other applications are also following the same, and all these things eventually will get connected, right? And all these agents will get connected. And I think it's in that collaboration between agent and human where I think it's going to be very interesting to see what happens, right?
Yeah, and even I was going to ask you, I don't know if you've noticed this, because I have, as on the consumer side, I like to challenge these tools so then I can go back and think as an SEO, is like, how do I, how do I strategize this? But on the consumer side, I started noticing that I rather search for products on ChatGPT. It finds them faster than going to Amazon search bar and looking for something that's specific. Let's say, I was looking for a part for a motorcycle. I could not find it using the Amazon search bar, but ChatGPT found exactly the thing that I was looking for, and it was compatible and fit and exactly the model. So, and then at the same time, this morning, I heard, all this, OpenAI releasing GPT-5, and it has an agent in it. And there were theories about even internet browsers going away because of these because of the agents coming in and really being able to help you support, which is kind of what you're talking about, right? That search bar disappearing because there's somebody that is actually helping you make the decision and then present the information.
Yeah, I was at a conference a few weeks back, and somebody was saying our kids or the kids of our kids will say, "Daddy, what was a website?" Everything might be just that, agents and us interacting with them. I think it's either very challenging or exciting, depending what's your point of view, because AI is changing everything. It's changing everything at the same time, right? So, and I think as marketing teams, there are really two axes that you can think of, right? That you need to think about them at the same time. One is exactly what you say, like AI search and how AI is changing consumer behavior, right? And what are you going to do about it, right? How is your content strategy needs to change because of AI? And I really think the best way to beat at the AI game is to use AI, right? So then the second axis is like what are the technologies and the systems, and how are your internal operations going to change because of AI, right? And how you're going to adapt because of it, right? And I always say, invest on this early, right? Try, and you don't have to 100% go and do it for everything that you do, but you can have a 30, 60, 90-day plan where you can try to identify what are some high impact areas that maybe there's a lot of manual effort or a lot of edge cases that you cannot tackle with workflows and rules, and try to see if you can solve them with AI. And again, the perception or change the way of thinking. Don't think about how you do it. Think about what you're trying to achieve. Right? What is the outcome and what is the goal, and see if AI can help you get there. And then measure that, right? Measure that compared to how you're doing with your current operations or your current systems, and then figure it out how you scale from there, right? Because I think you'll be very surprised how much further you can get with it.
That was exactly what I was going to say. You'll be surprised if you're tracking, whatever it is, right? Revenue, efficiency, profitability. You're going to be surprised of the outcome. And if you're not as surprised, it may be that it just takes a little bit more learning and training your new employee, right, to get you there. So Ana, I really want to thank you for joining us today on this episode, but I also want to ask you any final thoughts or one recommendation that you have for brand CMOs out there, maybe watching this. What comes to mind? What would you say to them about everything that we've talked about today?
I would say don't fear AI, right? I don't think AI is here to replace humans or replace creativity. It's here to scale it, right? I see it as a superpower, right? So, and I think the best results come from the collaboration between humans and machines, follow strategies like the LPO and LPO practices, right? And if you do those things, right, to me, that's successful. That's a successful recipe. So invest early in trying these things. And as we talk about the intern, it's like, don't expect the intern to do things well the first time, right? Or it might make mistakes at some point, right?
Right.
Of course, if it makes so many mistakes, if we want to fire the intern, but if it makes a mistake at the beginning, you think yourself, well, maybe there's something that I didn't give to that intern, right? I didn't give it enough context, or I didn't explain this and that, and then you explain it, and next time it does better, right? So treat AI the same way. And I think when you do that, you'll be surprised how successful you can get and how fast you can get your team to work with it, right? Because to me, it's not a question of this transformation is happening, right? It is happening. The question is, will you lead it or will you follow it? And when it comes to AI, I think it's better to lead it, right? Because it's kind of like in video games when you get that booster, right, and you go faster. It's really hard to catch up if you didn't get the booster. And I think that's what AI gives you. When you go through the cycles, you learn how to interact with AI and how to get the best out of it. And by the way, AI keeps evolving too, right? So what you can get out of agentic systems today, tomorrow is going to be 10 times better, right? And it's going to continue evolving. The booster is going to continue growing and growing and growing. And I think it's better to lead it, right, than to follow it.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. Again, thank you so much for making the time and going through this with us. We're very excited to see what you and the team are building, what's coming, and see how accurate we were a year after from today and see if we nailed anything or we were completely off.
Sounds good. This was a lot of fun. Great talking to you.
Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far into the video, go check out the Uberall Academy to get LPO certified. Is completely free, and that is academy.uberall.com. And with that, I will see you on the next episode. Bye-bye.